The Wollongong club is just about on equal form with the Australs, recording only 1 win and 2 losses so far this season. But Australs will be back at full strength this Sunday, with exciting player Craig Carter back in the first 11 and keen to keep his position intact. 19-year-old sensation Costa Kamakamas has performed brilliantly in recent weeks, displaying ball skills and control well beyond his years. Club officials already predict Costa will become one of the most sought-after players in the competition next year, and they intend to keep him here in Newcastle. Goal shooter Brett Porter will also be in the lineup, despite getting married tomorrow. In a decision that would test most marriages from the outset, Porter has been allowed by his first love to stall the honeymoon so he can attend his second love, soccer. If the weather holds, the Australs could be well on target to gain a first-team shirt.
Although wet underfoot from overnight rain, the field days began today under sunny skies. A feature is a good food promotion on healthy and colourful ways to prepare, cook and enjoy a range of natural produce. Outside, 100 commercial exhibitors are showing off their wares, and while a rural setting, the field days are designed to attract urban dwellers as well.
It's really a great day out in the country for town-based people to mix with animals and see a whole range of agricultural displays and demonstrations. But essentially we're aiming to educate small area farmers, hobby farmers, people new on the land, to all aspects of agriculture.
Animal handling displays are expected to draw crowds, along with skillful sheepdog demonstrations and cow and goat milking displays. And for the young and young at heart, the animal nursery should be as popular as ever, with a variety of creatures, great and small. The State Fisheries Department is hosting an oyster fishing display.
Also, we've introduced a fishing clinic this year for children, which is a first, and they'll learn how to prepare their tackle and tie on hooks and bait hooks. And we're also having a fishing competition in the big college dam here that's been stocked with fish, especially.
Health and safety is another important feature, with stalls emphasising the need for safety consciousness on the farm, both in the work environment and around the home. Cholesterol and blood pressure testing facilities will also be available. Another special display focuses on electronics in agriculture. There, visitors will see computer systems which deal with livestock record keeping and financial management packages and computer-aided livestock marketing.
Computers in agriculture are still only used to a limited extent, but there's great potential. And I think in the next 10 years we'll see a real boom in computerised agriculture.
For those not technically inclined, 20 cottage craft demonstrations are reminders of timeless techniques. The historic Tokal homestead is also open all weekend for visitors to enjoy one of Australia's still active colonial farms.
Living up to their tag as one of the biggest drawing teams in the competition, 25,840 patrons rolled up at the ISC for today's clash with the Bulldogs. And they were there early, as there were over 15,000 people at the ground for the start of the President's Cup game. The swell of people continued to surge into the ground, and by match time it was wall-to-wall spectators. For General Manager Graham Hards, it was just the tonic they needed after all the wet weather.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of people saying prayers for us last night, and it's worked. They nearly convinced me to go along too. We're thrilled about the crowd, the weather, and everything's looking great for us.
As expected, the hits in the first half were murderous, with all players from both sides involved. Peter Johnson had 2 shots for the Knights but couldn't convert, but his opposite number Terry Lamb had no trouble with his 2, and the Bulldogs led 4-0 after 30 minutes. And then the Knights hit back a few minutes later, with former Canterbury star David Boyd crashing through to score. On the resumption, the large crowd were expecting Canterbury to go on with the job, but it was the boys in blue and red that opened the Bulldogs right up.
Stewart is a dummy half. A long cut-out ball for Hagan. Hagan, a found Kemp. Kemp goes for the line. Kemp is going to score. Kemp is in for Newcastle. Off a beautiful ball for Michael Hagan.
Halfback Stevie Fulmer, who had a sensational second stanza, broke through again to give the Knights a handy lead.
He goes Doyle again. He's
And even though replacement player Darren Curry crossed for Canterbury, they couldn't salvage it and the Henny Penny Knights were home by 8 points.
The purse snatcher always takes care to select just one victim on each visit to Garden City. She probably watches from a parked car as the target removes money from one of several auto banks in the shopping centre. Then, satisfied that the takings are worth it, she begins to stalk her victim. Police say the purse snatcher will follow her target for up to 3 hours before making a move. Generally, she strikes in a crowded supermarket aisle when the shopper is distracted for just a few seconds. Garden City's artful dodger does work to a pattern. The victims are almost always mothers with children shopping on their own. She only works on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and curiously, the wallets are returned with everything except the money at this newsagent's. More than 30 wallets have been found tucked into the news agency's card racks. Police set up a hidden video camera in the store, but the snatcher appeared to be taunting them.
We had a video camera set up, hidden away, so the public couldn't see it.
And what was the result of that?
Not much, nothing. No wallets were found in the shop while it was here, so they took it out and then wallets started turning up again.
Embarrassed police say the purse snatcher could be leading a gang which has stolen almost 50 wallets in the past 12 months, reaping more than $10,000 in cash. But police do have a description provided by shoppers. The woman they're looking for is in her early 40s. She's 159 centimetres tall and of extremely thin build, with shoulder-length light brown hair which could be wavy or curly. They say she also has a very prominent nose. If you know a woman matching this description, contact police immediately at Newcastle on 290999.
Lady Mayoress Lorraine Welsh put her husband up for auction last weekend at a charity ball to raise money for the Stewart Centre at Valentine. The offer of the Mayor's services for a day aroused much interest, with bidding forced up to $500. Dennis Trigg of Triggs Motors at Toronto saw a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After all, there's plenty of work to be done in a garage.
I tell you what, he's a good worker. There you go, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess there.
Dennis, was it worth paying the $500?
Well, yes, Jody, I would say so. The Stewart Centre at Valentine is certainly a worthwhile recipient, and I don't think I could give $500 better to any other organisation.
Mrs. Welsh later admitted that she's never seen her husband work quite as hard.
Not that I recall, and we've been married a heck of a long time.
Want to put these
As far as the Mayor's concerned, the physical work just isn't for him. And tonight he's back at the helm of Lake Macquarie City Council.
Okay, now get in that car and get home.
The exhibition features a range of artistic mediums, from the traditional painting to the very latest computing and video design. Out of the 20,000 pieces submitted for marking in last year's HSC, these 100 works were chosen because of their quality and originality. They are not necessarily the best produced. The exhibition features 15 works from the Hunter region, including this drawing by Chief Wung Lee of Broadmeadow High School titled Circle Game, and this cartoon by Ivan Cole of Irrawang called Love Found. According to coordinator Carolyn Vaness, the number of Hunter artworks featured in the exhibition is not unusual. The region is renowned for producing a high standard of HSC work.
There's a lot of lovely art teaching in the Hunter because there are some superb pieces showing up from the Hunter region.
And is that unusual?
Well, there are some strong areas in the state. Obviously those areas that spend a lot of time and money on the teaching of visual arts. There are other areas too that are strong in visual arts.
So does
there's a tradition up here for teaching of art.
What sort of a tradition?
Well, a tradition that they put a lot of effort into it. They have art camps. There's a lot of energy goes into the teaching of art in the Hunter.
Carolyn says HSC markers are looking for works which project the students' concerns in an unusual and creative way.
Look, every year I really think it gets better and better, and the standard gets more and more experimental. What we're really looking for are children who take a risk, students who push themselves that little bit further. So the character changes, but then I think because of that it improves every year.
Artist George Gittos has been studying the BHP blast furnace since he began a spell as artist-in-residence for the Newcastle Regional Art Gallery. The Newcastle project, part of his Australia-wide study named Heavy Industry, began in Wollongong. He is trying to represent workers in their usual workplaces. Wearing special clothing to protect him from often unbearable 1600-degree heat and fire sparks, he draws what he sees as it happens.
This is a unique group of men working here, and they should be documented. I think their skills and their lifestyle is quite amazing.
George Gittos has filmed wars, and he compares today's observations to those of a war battlefield.
This is the front line of industrial work, that although there's not the casualties of a war, the men require the same kind of stamina and courage to work here as elite soldiers working at the front line of, fighting at the front line of a war. I think they're heroes in a way. My drawings celebrate the life of industrial workers.
The men are much more modest.
George Geddes describes you as a hero. Do you think you're a hero?
Not really. Just work, someone's got to do it.
George Gitto's work can be seen at the Newcastle Regional Art Gallery from July 7.
True to their word, just on 2 o'clock, many chemists shut their doors and headed off with their staff to a protest meeting at the Newcastle Workers' Club. In a lot of cases, at least one person remained behind, outside, handing out leaflets, getting signatures on a petition and directing urgent prescriptions to the one pharmacist in each area who remained to dispense them.
Excuse me, would you like to sign our petition? It's on the government scheme and we're cutting down pharmaceutical benefits.
An exception to the rule were the Sol Patterson chain pharmacies, which traded as normal, on orders from above.
Well, we have been given direct orders not to close, and I'm just managing on behalf of Sol Patterson's pharmacy. So I just have to go by the directive of the management.
The organiser of the protest stoppage, the Newcastle and Hunter Valley Pharmacists Association, was pleased with the turn-up at the Workers' Club. 300 people, employers and employees, voted to call on the government to adequately fund the benefit scheme so a high-quality service can be maintained.
When we first called the meeting, I didn't know how many pharmacists would actually support us. But we got such staggering support that we started to call it for what it really is, which is a protest meeting. And over the last 2 weeks, we've been able to explain to the public exactly what's going on. And the number of signatures we got on the petition is ample support from the public. You know, we've got something like 40,000 signatures in about 10 days.
The official weigh-in took place at 11 o'clock this morning and both fighters looked in peak physical condition. Gia Vanini was first to step on the scales and was happy when it was announced that he had tipped them at 79.10 kilograms and after being checked by the doctor was given the all clear. Harding, who has had to add weight to reach the respectable size for his step up in divisions, hit the scales at 78.55 kilos and was happy with his condition and preparation for the fight.
Weighing comfortably what we anticipated to weigh in at. Because of the light heavyweight division, so everything can only go on from here.
Having a look at the respective matchups reveals no real edge to either boxer, although Harding has age and a couple of inches of height on his side. One big factor for the Argentinian is his vast experience with 32 fights, 27 wins, 3 losses and 2 draws against the 13-0 record of Harding. With the title shot in either the super middleweight or light heavyweight up for grabs, trainer Johnny Lewis is confident of his boy's chances.
Yeah, very happy with the weight he's coming at, and it's something that we were striving to achieve because of the fact that we've had to bulk up a little bit, and I'm pretty certain that he'll handle it all well tonight.
The main support bout will be a local war between Craig Peavy and Al Whitten, which will be worth the admission charge all on its own.
Starting his day in Newcastle, Industry, Commerce and Technology Minister John Button dropped in on Carrington slipways. If Newcastle's bid for the frigate contract is successful, much work on the project will be done there. Today the Minister inspected the progress of Australia's new icebreaker, the Aurora Australis. Senator Button says Newcastle could do all the frigate work, but would need outside assistance with technology. In the long term, he says Australia needs 2 sophisticated shipbuilding facilities.
If we had only one shipbuilding facility in Australia of industrial substance, it would become probably very fat and uncompetitive.
His department's major concern is industrial development, and he says technology should be transferred to Australia to strengthen companies.
All sorts of spin-off benefits flow from building ships like this.
What sort of benefits?
Well, for example, in the electronics industry, with weapon system and so on, there are companies here which will have to learn how to do a lot of that work. And when they learn how to do it, they have that capacity for involvement in other industries.
He says, for example, Newcastle's heavy engineering firms could contribute to the shipbuilding project. The decision regarding who wins the frigate contract, Newcastle's AWS consortium or Victorian-based Amacon, is due around the end of July. Despite the fact the Senator is based in Melbourne, he says he won't inject bias into the decision-making process. He says his decision will be based on what's best to improve Australia's industrial capability. How much effect will you have on the final decision? You'll be obviously giving advice to Mr Beasley.
Oh, it depends what mood I'm in on the day in question. If I felt like I did when I got up this morning, I probably wouldn't have much effect at all.
What will you be saying to him?
Well, look, I'm here to try and find out, and I'm meeting with AWS this afternoon, and there are a whole range of factors which bear on the decision, and I will make a judgment in tranquility, not on your program, if I can avoid it.
City coach Jack Gibson was on the ISC field early today and ran his charges through their paces. The master coach was emphasising quick movement of the ball and coordination between all players. It was also an opportunity for new City Origin players Peter Tunks, who comes in for Ian Roberts, Glenn Ryan, who's in for Alan Wilson, and Graham Lyons, who replaces Michael O'Connor, to get used to the players around them. The clash between Tunks and the Knights' Mark Sargent should be full of interest. The hardest thing about finding out what country was up to was tracking them down. When finally found at their motel, Warren Ryan wasn't unduly concerned with the changes to the City side.
We've prepared sort of a game and hope we can
play it well, but the three changes their side really don't. Well, we've got to be aware of what the three players that are in are capable of. Tunks probably doesn't work as constantly as Roberts, but he's got a few little tricks which we've got to be aware of. Glenn Ryan probably doesn't have the speed of a Wilson, but you know, he's a solid worker. He's a little bit bigger and he's a pretty solid worker. So and the other one on the wing, I think he's probably quicker, might be a bit quicker off the mark, and a bit slipperier than Michael O'Connor, although O'Connor's very quick over distance. But you know, really, there's not. You know, we've got to be worried about the 13 of them, and irrespective of who they put on the field, you know, we won't be changing too much.